So all of this was paid for by myself, and because I keep hearing like we are making a gift of this board. This is a gift. This is not going to be paid for by the taxpayer. We have a judge that thinks it's a terrible thing that we're making a gift. He said it's terrible that we're making a gift that should be paid for by the taxpayer. That's one I've never heard before, but I'm sure maybe, I don't know, maybe he doesn't understand. This is a gift to the United States of America. And more than a gift, it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings that's ever been built in the country or in Washington, D.C. So here's the other facade you see over here. And again, this is taken, these great classical buildings, they're taken out of different parts of the world from very glamorous times. This is Rome. They like the flat roof. Greece likes they call it the triangles, and you see that. This is a porch that looks out over the city. Also, it's developed in such a way that we can have military there, but the entire roof is developed for military. They're very high. They're higher than just about anything else. They have a 360-degree vision of Washington, D.C. They have a massive drone capacity. Not only is it drone-proof, if a drone hits it, it bounces off. It won't have any impact. But it's also meant as a drone port, so it protects all of Washington, the roof of the building. Okay? Now, does anybody have any questions? If you want, you can take, I think you can bring your cameras up, but you might want to take a look at the complexity. These are all different rooms down here. They're building a hospital. They're building, it's a military hospital. They're building all sorts of research facilities, also meeting rooms and rooms that go hand in hand for the military, using the ballroom. And the ballroom is really a shield and protecting all of the things that are built here. This goes, as you see, it's already up to the ground. This goes down very deep. You get a better view right over here. This is down, because we've already done these floors. But these are already down 2 floors. That is down about 6 stories deep. That's big stuff. Normally, when you build a ballroom, you build it flat. You just build a ballroom. It would have been built. The complexity of this, and again, it's all knit. It's all knit together between the drone proofing, the missile proofing, we have, and the drone capacity upstairs. We can have all sorts of military up, whether I hate to use the word snipers, but we have great sniper capacity. It's built for our snipers, not the enemy snipers, our snipers. And because of the height, we get a very clear view of everything all over Washington. Yeah.
Mr. President, you mentioned that this is being paid for out of pocket, but why is Congress in pocket? Explain sort of the difference.
Well, they're not. Congress is approving. Yeah, Congress is approving money for security. It may go. Some of it may go here for additional security. I don't know, but Congress is approving money. But this building, I mean, I put up the money, built this building, along with a lot of great patriots. People have put up a lot of money to build the building, and we have a building that is going to be, I think it's going to be potentially the most beautiful building in all of Washington, and with that is great military capacity. We're building it in conjunction with the United States military and the Secret Service.
You've just been watching President Trump touting the White House ballroom construction project. The president says the ballroom will be built with private donations, but Republicans have requested $1 billion for security upgrades. ABC's Stephen Portnoy is on the phone with more on that. Hi, Stephen. So President Trump says this whole project is tax-free. So what's the latest on what it'll actually cost?
Last we heard, Diane, from the administration in court earlier this year, the ballroom was expected to cost $400 million, but then came this request for the $1 billion for Secret Service, which officials later insisted only about 20% of which would be to secure the ballroom project. What's remarkable, watching the president there on the south lawn of the White House or just east of it, is how the president's putting on the kind of show and tell for press that, to me, seems reminiscent of the kinds of tours he would put on decades ago for reporters either in New York or Atlantic City during construction of one of his towers or hotels or casinos. With the renderings on easels, the facade, he says, of this building will be similar to the Supreme Court, talking about Greek and Roman architecture. And I should also point out, as the president continues speaking, this is an area of the White House complex that generally is not visible to the press or to the public. You really can't see it as you're standing on Pennsylvania Avenue. So the president has gone out of his way there to bring reporters and, by extension, the American public to the east side of the White House to get our first up-close look at what's been going on with the construction that you can hear is quite loud at the White House.
The Senate parliamentarian found Republicans' request for $1 billion in ballroom funding was out of order under the reconciliation process. So what are the next steps?
The next steps are for Republicans in the Senate to go back to the drawing board and figure out a way to comply with the parliamentarian's ruling here, which is it's extremely esoteric and complex, but it gets at the idea that in order for Republicans to skirt a filibuster in the Senate and pass this funding with only 51 votes instead of 60, they have to follow very specific rules that have to do with committees of jurisdiction and how the bill is written in such a way. Suffice it to say, they believe they can figure out a way to do it, but then ultimately will have to go back to the parliamentarian for her sign-off and then on the floor of the Senate for what's called a vote-a-rama. And at that point, Democrats are going to try to tease out particular portions of this and call for an up or down vote in the Senate, which would put Republicans on the record. Do they favor spending taxpayer dollars on this project at this moment in time? Yes or no?
Stephen Portnoy, thank you.